comes on, and if you don't, Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the regular board meeting of December 11th, 2019. Before we begin, I'd like to recognize this meeting is taking place on the traditional unceded territory of the Coast Salish people. And with that, we'll get underway. I do not believe there are any additions to the agenda. So we'll ask for a motion to approve the agenda. Moved by Director Smith, seconded by Director Sebring. All those in favor? Opposed? None opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to adoption of minutes. The minutes of the regular board meeting November 27th, moved by Director Morrison, seconded by Director Toporowski. Great hat, by the way. Any omissions, errors on the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Unopposed, motion carries. Ms. Legault, any business arising from the minutes?
None.
So I believe then we are on to public input period. So we welcome input to the board, 3 minutes per person, up to 15 minutes total. Welcome. Take it easy on me, I'm fragile.
Good evening, Mr. Chair. Today is the day of the miracles because I watched your two meetings today and they were broadcasted perfectly. We had the support material and everything was really great. So talking about miracles, on SR3, function 488 for the watershed, it would be a miracle if we could open that up and get a bit of funding. Because I can see that with the regional grants and 17 watersheds, that we're not going to have enough money to go around. Which brings me around to listening to CBC at 8 o'clock, I think it was Monday morning, shortly after 8. And a professor from the University of Victoria has been doing a study on the BC Water Act. And so he came to the conclusion that the province, the MOE, cannot look after the licensing for protection of the water in BC. It's just too big. So they wanted to pass it on to the municipalities. And of course, it looks like it'll be too big for the municipalities too. So he says, likely it's going to end up with the watersheds looking after this, the local people looking after their watersheds. So in your wisdom with this board and committee, if you can see any money coming from the provincial government or something, we could sure use it at the Shawnigan water basin. But we have been progressing, still doing water test and soil test, and the owners have been coming up with the money so far. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and we wish you a very Merry Christmas, and may you make some very good resolutions for the new year.
Thank you very much. This may be our last chance to make resolutions for the new year, but that's a different kind of resolution. Thank you, Mr. Evans. Any other folks that would like to give public input before we get our meeting underway? Seeing no one step to the mic, just thank you all for coming to join us this evening, and we'll move on. Ms. Legault.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The next item is delegations. D1, Jerry Giles, representing 2005 BC Seniors Games, with presentation of an Outstanding Community Achievement Award for information.
Thanks, Cliff. Thank you, Mr. Chair and directors. It gives me a great deal of pleasure to be here to speak to you tonight on behalf of the 2005 BC Seniors Games. I had the privilege on November the 16th of attending North Cowichan's wonderful event where they recognize people in our community who are outstanding athletes, and they did a very stellar job of that on the 16th. I think it's just North Cowichan, or is it North Cowichan? They also, though, took the opportunity at that event to recognize the 4 games that have been held in the Valley. So in 1991, the Winter Games were held in the Valley. In 2005, the BC Seniors Games. 2008 was the North American Indigenous Games. and 2018, the BC Summer Games. And I had the privilege of being the president of the 2005 BC Seniors Games, as well as being the secretary for the North American Indigenous Games. And so I just want to come tonight. We were presented with an Outstanding Community Achievement Award to the directors and the volunteers that organized those events. And for me, the first time the CVRD funded and put in an application for funding for a game here was with the Seniors Games. I believe North Cowichan and the City of Duncan provided the impetus to have the 1991, I have trouble saying 19 now. I don't know how other people are with that. But the 1991 games, they did. First games provided by this board, or the board of that day, were the Seniors Games. And so it, to me, resonates that you be the holder of the wonderful plaque that we were all given. And there is a display case downstairs that I'm hoping that you will put this plaque on display, because it rightly belongs to the community of the Cowichan Valley. It's not mine as the president of the Seniors Games. The board of directors that we had was absolutely wonderful, as they are with all of the games that are held in the Cowichan Valley. But I would like to make sure that the community knows how much we value the participation of the community in these events. And just to give you some idea, the legacy from the 1991 games sparked funding for the Sportsplex. So it was very instrumental in getting the Sportsplex in our community. And I think we all agree that that's a terrific asset for us to have. The 2005 BC Seniors Games gave approximately $150,000 to the various sport organizations that existed in the valley that participated by hosting different events. And so there is that financial legacy that goes back into the community. The North American Indigenous Games, the NEG Games, did really well. They had a $1.6 million legacy that was determined prior to distribution, that it would go to First Nations and Indigenous people throughout Canada and North America. I know there was a legacy from the summer games that were just held, but I'm not sure of what that legacy was. So I want to just leave you with the idea that there's an economic benefit to hosting these games in the valley. In addition, I can tell you that from the analysis done with the BC Seniors Games, there was a $2 million spin-off in our community. So there is an economic benefit. And with the North American Indigenous Games, that economic benefit was about $10 million. So there is a lot of money brought into the valley by hosting these games. And I have to say, the amount of output by the CVRD or local government doesn't even come close to funding these games in totality. The community always steps forward. Our community is so generous, and their generosity of spirit shines through every single time. There's also a human legacy to the games that I think is important. People who participate by volunteering or who happen to participate in the games, they build lasting friendships, and those legacies continue on. They also, we've seen with the seniors games that started building bridges in our community, and those bridges are leading to reconciliation, and there's a greater awareness of our Indigenous communities and the needs that they have. And it was an absolute honor of my life to serve as a secretary of the North American Indigenous Games. I learned so much about cultures across North America, it was an experience that I wouldn't give up for anything. It was just wonderful to see people coming in. The games also allow us to showcase the valley. We have an excellent community here, one that is wonderful from the north of our valley down to the top of the Malahat and out to the west coast. And when people see the variety of different landscapes that we have, talk to the people that we have, they're really feeling very lucky to be here. Several of them move here after the games are over. Some of them come back for a vacation, so they do like to spend time with us again, and that's been shown. They come and see what a very special community we are, and they're very grateful. Both the seniors' games, the NAIG, and I have no doubt the winter games that were here have all been asked to bid on games again. And I think probably with the success of the summer games that were just had, they will be asking to bid on the summer games as well. I think the very nice part about all of the games that we've hosted in the Valley, it hasn't taken a lot of government time to organize them. Some communities, they rely on local government to fill all the slots. We've been very fortunate in that the volunteers who have stepped forward have been absolutely amazing and been able to organize and handle those jobs. So I first want to say thank you to Mayor Al and say that I really did appreciate standing on this stage with 3 other people and being recognized as the president of the Seniors Games and receiving this wonderful plaque, which I would like to now give to the chair of the board, and hopefully this plaque will be displayed downstairs in the display case so that people in the valley who come in and perhaps look can see that they are really appreciated for the effort that they put forward and the generosity of spirit that they show to everybody. And so thank you very much for letting me take your time tonight. I know it's very valuable, and I really appreciate the opportunity to be on this side of the table and come, and come to speak to you on this side of the table. So thank you.
Am I covering it up with my hand? Let me grab it on the bottom more appropriately. There we go.
Smile there. Well done.
We got new teeth and everything.
Stay there, Jerry. Stay there. Everybody who is here knows who Jerry is and how much he's done for the whole community. And this is just a very small token of our appreciation in exchange for the plaque. Thank you very much.
Find other stuff around my house that I can bring.
I just kept the seat warm for you, Jerry. You coming back or? Does anybody want to say a few words before we let Jerry away from the podium? Director McGonigal.
Thank you very much, Ms. Giles. Appreciate seeing you as always. It is difficult saying 1,900 and something.
Yeah.
But just think, next year we're all going to have perfect 20/20 vision.
Yes, yes. And so that 2020 vision will help you make some wonderful decisions.
And we may even have a miracle on Ingram Street.
Oh.
Okay, Mr. McGonagall's comedy routine will be returning shortly. Would anybody else like to say anything before we move on? Director Sebring.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and Jerry, thank you. I was surprised to see that plaque come back around. I really thought you'd put it on your mantle because some of us thought that's where it belonged. But equally, I totally appreciate your gesture. And the challenge on the North Cowichan side when we looked at this was how do we recognize all the people who were involved in all these games? I mean, as you well know better than I do, it's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of volunteers collectively that put these four things together. So we just kind of decided to pick the chairs as representatives of those people. And in that sense, I think what you've done here tonight is very appropriate because it was indeed the entire community. But it couldn't have been done without the leadership that you showed. And I just want to acknowledge that and say thank you. So.
Any further speakers before we continue? Seeing none, we will move on. Thanks again, Ms. Giles. We'll talk to you soon. My button just broke, but I think my mic's stuck on for the night, so now you all have to listen to me. Every time I sit here, it's a comedy show. Moving on our delegations, Ms. Legault.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Item D2, Genevieve Singleton regarding parkland acquisition.
Welcome, Ms. Singleton, welcome. And just, your button should work. There you go. And you have 15 minutes, please go ahead. Or sorry, 10 minutes, please go ahead.
Aikwanate, Aikwanasialemnamna. Good evening. It is so nice to see you. I wish to acknowledge that I am on Cowichan Tribes territory with gratitude. This morning I was assisting in presenting a presentation in schools in Malahat lands, and later in the day I was taking care of my parents in Songhe lands. So I am very, very grateful for the long stewardship over when I ask my elder friends, what do I say for time? They say millennia. And I want to bring the context this evening in my presentation of millennia to you. My name is Genevieve Singleton. I'm a devoted wife, mother, recent grandma, and daughter. My passion, what drives me in this world, is connecting children and adults to nature. My whole life has been directed to that since I was a child. I started out my days with a wonderful man called Freeman King, who I met at the age of 10 in Victoria. The Freeman King Nature House in Goldstream Provincial Park is named after him. He has inspired legions of people around the world now to carry forth the message of caring for our environment. He totally inspired me that by the age of 16, I was working in parks, and I have never left that life. I got $100 a summer for working at what is now Freeman King Francis Park. I went on to that in a career as a park naturalist with BC Parks. In 2016, I received the BC Parks Volunteer of the Year Award. It is hard for me to talk about my achievements, but I know a lot about parks. I volunteer, I work in parks. I probably spend 5 out of 7 days a week in a Cowichan Valley Regional Park or a provincial park. All of you sitting here will know a child, you may not know this, but you will all know a child who has been out on my nature walks. I am very active with school district. I am chair of Eves Provincial Park, a small park near Westholme, where we have a nature house. And I am the coordinator of the Cowichan Valley Docents, and we run programs year-round there. I am blessed to be the ecological reserve warden of Honeymoon Bay Reserve out in Lake Cowichan and Mount Suhalem Ecological Reserve. I am a warden of Middle Natch Island Provincial Park off of Campbell River. I'm a biologist, but most of all, I'm a nature interpreter. I come to you this evening to give gratitude to each and every one of you. Many of you I know, and I appreciate what all of you do. As a committed volunteer, I know not only do you get paid a pittance for what you do, and that includes the staff here, but you volunteer a great deal of time. I am inspired to follow in Jerry Giles' footsteps, who has been an inspiration to me for many years in commitment to our community. And those of you that I know here in front of me, I know how hard you work. So it is with hesitation and anxiety I come to you and ask you for something, because I know how difficult the decisions you make in a small way. I know the effort and time that you put in. And I cannot imagine balancing a budget with, I understand, 89 different parts to it. So what I'm going to talk about now is hard for me, because I know how hard you work to balance that budget and look after us taxpayers. And I'm a taxpayer of North Cowichan and have been for 30 years. But what I want to talk to you about tonight is the Parks Acquisition Fund. It only lately became to my full attention that in February, you had the difficult choice. And I want you to know I acknowledge your difficult choice. I acknowledge that, and that you're taking care of us. Dropping from approximately $853,000 to $150,000. And now, if I understand correctly, you're considering raising to $400,000. And that's great. I know you were faced with difficult stuff around the water referendum and the social housing referendum, and those are important and all related to what I speak to. I want to bring towards you a different perspective I mentioned earlier about millennia, and I want you to think about beyond the elected periods, beyond our lifetime, beyond your grandchildren if you have them lifetime. I want you to think about a 500-year lens. I admire all of you because you've committed yourself to your community, and you are all leaders with vision and integrity. And I ask you to think about 500 years ahead. I beg you to consider 1,000 years. 1,000 years. What does that look like in our community? Today, driving to my elderly unwell parents to the Langford corridor, I was struck with how 30 years of going back and forth to Victoria from Cowichan, how much that landscape has changed, and was trying to imagine what our landscape will be like here. Hard to imagine. But as leaders, you carry forth that mantle of taking care not only as us as taxpayers, but the land. And the land is calling out for help. The land needs to be protected. The Canadian vision, with the Canadian government, is 20% of protected land. Here in the Cowichan Valley, it's 7%. Every piece is special. All of that which you have done and your forebears is deeply appreciated. But with the stresses of climate change, the huge population growth we're facing, and the stresses on our water that I know you all care about, we need to up it from 7%. The goal is 20%. At this moment, if my figures are correct, per $100,000 of house, sorry, I haven't got the words right, owning your house, it is, by allowing to $1,400,000, which is the top amount this fund could be this year, approximately. That is $5 per 100,000. Victoria has their Parks Acquisition Fund set at $20 per $100,000, which, and right now at the 150, we're at 67 cents. I know you have many choices to make. I know it's difficult, but I cannot reiterate more that money put into parks pays back in ways far beyond just the rumination value of ecotourism and all the other good things like that. I want to have you join me just for a moment, and if you're comfortable, you can close your eyes like I will, and I want you just to take a deep breath, and I want you to take your mind to being in a park. It could be recent, and it doesn't have to be a Cowichan Valley Regional District park. It can be any park. I'm going to take myself back to my childhood. and I'm going to walk the trails of Goldstream. And I just want to be quiet for a moment while you consider some memory, recent or current. Thank you for giving me that time. At some other point, I'd love to know where you all were. But what happens to me in parks is mental well-being. It's a place to sort out my emotional health, my physical health. And then we have parks where people shouldn't be, the reserves I try and look after. The most recent provincial park that I was very engaged in was the local lead on Eagle Heights Provincial Park, which is one of the rarest ecosystems we have in British Columbia in the world, and was created as a park a year and a half ago. One of the best moments of my life was being honored with being part of that. Cowichan Valley Regional District was a huge park of Eagle Heights Provincial Park being created. The staff worked really hard on that. The board was engaged. It ended up that CVRD didn't actually have to put any money forward. But the fact that you had money in the fund and a good piece of money sent the message to Victoria, the provincial government, that not only was the group of five, which consisted of Cowichan tribes, the Cowichan Valley Naturalists, the Cowichan Land Trust, BC Wildlife Federation, and CVRD. That was the group of five. By us banding together and CVRD showing that they had money, that they were committed, and they applied with the BC Wildlife Federation for a grant. And that grant was for $400,000. That grant couldn't have been levered without your commitment to show a parks acquisition fund. As it turned out, no money came out of that fund for that particular purchase from CVRD. But the fact that the money was there allowed funds to be created to make this legacy of this incredibly important traditional place for Cowichan peoples and very rare ecosystem possible. Here in the Cowichan Valley, we are...
Just one moment. Can I just get an approval from the board to give Ms. Singleton a little bit more time? Moved by Director Acton, seconded by Director Toporowski. All those in favor? Opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. Sorry, we just ran out of time, so our policy dictates we've got to take a resolution. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I was just going to say thank you. But I appreciate the extra time, gratitude that. I just did want to comment, and thanks for that very much. We have two very rare ecosystems here in the Cowichan Valley, which you may not all be familiar with. We have more rare lands here than most places in Canada. We have the Coastal Douglas Fir Zone, which is, oh, bless your heart, thank you. Oh, Hajka. Coastal Douglas Fir Zone, which is just a thin strip of land along the east coast of Vancouver Island and the Sunshine Coast. Growing up, this is where I live, right? And when a number of years ago I heard this was endangered, I went, what? I mean, that's everywhere, big deal. But I'm wrong. That's just a thin little strip that we are stewards with. And part of that ecosystem is the Garry Oak ecosystem. There is less than 4% of that left in good habitat in the entire world. Cowichan Valley has the most of that. Berkey's Corner, near where I live, was once rolling fields of Garry Oaks and Camas that stretched all the way out to Maple Bay. Most of that's gone, but we still have pockets. And it's our duty, our calling, to take care of these two special ecosystems and increase the amount of land. There are things going on, like for years, Shaw Creek, a beautiful, pristine, incredibly important salmon habitat area out in Lake Cowichan, as needed protecting. It may come up on the drawing board again. We want to be nimble. We want to be quick. We want to have some funds. Maybe not all the funds, and the same for the Coast Island Corridor, but we want to be ready. And the only way to be ready is to have funds available and sitting there, and perhaps at the end of a year, they don't need to be used. But we need to be active. We need to be thinking about the 1,000-year lens, resilience, water, how to take care of our water. Again, my appreciation to all of you. I raise my hands for all you do, and thank you so much for giving me this time. Haishka.
Thank you very much. I will see if the directors have any questions or comments they'd like to make at this time. Well, I want to say thank you very much. I think that you're very effective and moving in your presentation, and I think that I appreciate that you respect the difficult job that we all have to do, and that although I think we recognize that it's not where we need to be, that the board has tried to make a decision to move up those allocations in the future. So I just want to thank you so much for coming and for your eloquent presentation. Thank you. Thank you. And with that, back to Ms. Legault.
The next item 7 is the report of the chair.
Thank you. I don't have anything on the report from the chair today. I guess I wasn't used to it. I didn't put a list together. So we will move on.
Item C1, correspondence from Shawnigan Lake Historical Society with a request for a letter of support. And the proposed recommendation is that a letter of support be provided to the Shawnigan Lake Historical Society for their grant applications to the Federal Legacy Fund and the Island Coastal Economic Trust for the museum expansion project.
Moved by Director Acton.
Could I move that with a bit of urgency because of the
Cutoff.
deadline? Yeah,
For sure.
thank you.
Seconded by Director Nicholson. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? None opposed? With urgency. Ms. Legault.
Item IN1, December 2nd, 2019 meeting summary in terms of reference from Director Nicholson from the Vancouver Island and Coastal Communities Climate Leadership Plan Steering Committee.
Thank you. I'll put it over to Director Nicholson to introduce this, and
Thank
over to
you. So I appreciated greatly the opportunity to represent the CVRD at the new Vancouver Island and Coastal Communities Climate Leadership Plan Steering Committee, which is co-chaired by our own Mayor Staples and Mayor Helps and Mayor Osborne. We've met twice in Nanaimo over the last couple of months, and we developed and finalized the terms of reference, which you have in front of you. So the mandate of this group is to develop a useful and practical plan for reducing emissions, adapting to climate change impacts, and ensuring resilient communities and ecosystems. And this plan is for consideration at AVICC 2021 conference. And of course, the work is going to be subject to securing funding, and we also, it's very important that First Nations participation is front and center on this. So I'm happy to respond to any questions you have on the terms of reference, and I'd also think it's appropriate, because I think I don't know if I was confirmed as the representative or maybe as an interim representative, but I would like to request confirmation that I can continue on this as representative, and you may want to appoint an alternate for times that I can't be there, because that is available to you.
thank you. So if any directors have any questions on the terms of reference, this would be the time to ask them. Now, my understanding, and the directors can speak to this, Staples and Nicholson, that these have been agreed to by the committee, by the group. So these are, I think, really here for our review. And I think a motion to say that we support them in principle based on what's been brought forward would be in order if someone wanted to make that. And also the designating Director Nicholson as our representative to that group. But I will turn that over to the committee. Both of those, so that we endorse the terms of reference in principle and appoint Director Nicholson as the representative for the CVRD. That's been moved by Director Salmon, seconded by Director Justice. Discussion on those. Director McGonigal.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think it's appropriate to appoint an alternate in Director Nicholson's absence. I would move Director Salmon as the alternate.
Yep, so as an amendment to the motion, we would add Director Salmon as the alternate. Do I have a seconder for the amendment? I got multiple seconders. I'll take Director Smith. And so I'll call the question on the amendment if there's no discussion then. On the amendment, all those in favor? Opposed? None opposed? Motion carries. And on the motion as amended, any discussion? Director McGonigal. We don't need an alternate.
I just think it's appropriate that there be some testosterone at the table as well, that's all.
Thank you very much. Any further discussion that's more germane to the resolution that's on the floor? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? None opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Ms. Legault.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. CR1, report and recommendations of the Electoral Area Services Committee meeting of December 4th.
Director Morrison.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Items 1 and 2 for all directors. Number 1, that the remaining funds from Function 575 capital purchase of a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle be used to purchase and install a dedicated fleet electric vehicle charging station. And 2, that any electoral area director interested in attending the UBCM Electoral Area Directors Forum 2020 and UBCM Local Government Leadership Academy's 2020 Leadership Forum be approved. And move those 2 items.
And it's been seconded by Director Wilson. Discussion on those? Director Sebring.
Not that I'm in any way opposed, but this is the first time I've seen this come forward this way in terms of the attendance at these events. Does this come out of Function 100, or does each electoral area fund their own director? I'm just trying to figure out what the budget looks like for this.
Through to staff. 250. Budget 250, EAS budget.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Unopposed? Motion carries. Back to you, Director Morrison.
Items 3 and 4 for electoral area directors only. 1, that development variance permit, application number DVP 19B05, PID 002-733-897, to vary section 8.4 sub B of CVRD electoral area B, Shawnigan zoning bylaw number 985, to reduce the rear yard setback for the construction of an accessory building from 4.5 meter to 1.5 meter be issued, and 2, that development permit application number DP 19B20, PID 002-733-897, to permit the construction of an accessory building within the riparian assessment area be issued. 4, that development permit application number DP 19B15 and PID 000-434-311 be issued. And 5, that a public information meeting be held regarding application number TUP 19D01 at 5255 Chester Road. And I move those items.
Seconded by Director Yanni DiNardo. Any discussion on those? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? None opposed. Motion carries.
That concludes my report.
Thank you very much. Ms. Legault.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On to staff reports. Item SR1 is a staff report from Legislative Services on the 2020 Board and Standing Committee regular meeting calendar, with a recommendation to approve the calendar as presented, to cancel the September 23rd, 2020 regular board meeting due to conflict with the UBCM convention, and to cancel the December 23rd, 2020 board meeting due to the proximity to Christmas.
Moved by Director Yanni DiNardo, seconded, oh, sorry, you had a question.
Yeah, I had a question.
I thought you saw your hand. I thought you were,
wanted to add a 4th to it if this
okay.
committee.
Before it's moved and seconded, because I didn't call the seconder yet,
Yes.
Director Yanni DiNardo.
I'm just speaking to this in what we used to do is have the month of August off. We had that for a few years. And we now do 2 board meetings a month and the electoral areas too. We've been really busy in the last few years, and I really feel that the month of August is really helpful for us to be able to rejuvenate, and I think it's really valuable for us and as well as staff. So I would like to recommend that a 4th, that the month of August, if I could, also.
So just for clarity, Ms. Legault, number 1 says that the board and standing committee calendar be approved as presented. So that would actually be an amendment to that part 1, would it not? So we would, so may I ask that we go through them one by one? You're introducing and nothing's been moved, so how would we amend number 1? That would be approved after waiving meetings for the month of August or something?
For simplicity, we could start with items 2 and 3,
Okay,
and then 4 and complete with approving.
okay. So number 2 and 3 have been moved by Director Yanni DiNardo. Do I have a seconder? Director Salmon, any discussion on those? Pardon me? Oh, okay. Director Smith.
So these are just for the board meeting and the EASC meetings and all the other meetings for that month?
That are in the calendar as presented, standing
Yes.
committees, yeah.
Items. Is FCM also included under this? The, usually it
Through
is.
staff.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. FCM isn't affected, FCM doesn't affect our calendar as it falls on a weekend. UBCM and ABICC generally UBCM are the only ones that affect our calendar because they fall midweek.
Thank you. Any further discussion on number 2 and 3? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? None opposed, motion carries. Ms. Legault, so you said then we would deal with the proposed number 4 first and then circle back to number 1 once we've approved. So Director Yanni Donardo, you're making a motion that we not meet as a board or committees in the month of August. Okay, that's been moved. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Director Smith. Discussion. Director Sebring.
I'm going to vote against this, with all due respect to Director Yanni Donardo. When I look at this calendar, what this does is it eliminates all the meetings between July 22nd and September 9th. We have one meeting in September. That's going to be a hellish meeting. We'll be here till 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm trying to go the other way in North Cowichan because we have a policy that in July and August we only have one meeting. And we've done that for a number of years, and we're getting so busy that one meeting every time starts at 1:30 in the afternoon and runs till 10, 11, midnight because there's so much to do. I wouldn't object if somebody wanted to suggest that we cancel one of the meetings in August, perhaps the 26th, but to take the entire month off, staff is going to load us up with the agenda from hell on September 9th and then another one on October 14th. We're just setting ourselves up for a whole lot more work in those 2 other board meetings.
Got a list. So you just described one regular CVRD board meeting. I don't know what the big deal is.
I mean,
Sorry.
but seriously, it's just going to double the workload.
Sorry, I have Director Morrison, and then I thought I saw another hand, and then Director Acton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was actually going to refer this to staff because instead of just doing a blanket on the fly, I think we should approve the calendar and ask for staff to come back with a recommended reduction or deletion of meetings for August so that we can not get into the scenario that Director Sebring described, perhaps drop one meeting or a couple of committee meetings, but I think as opposed to just saying cut August, we might be able to tactically delete a couple of meetings and still not get ourselves into that jackpot.
Okay, thank you. So is that a motion to refer?
It's a motion to refer to staff.
That's been seconded by Director Yanni Donardo. The mover is supportive of the referral. Any discussion on the referral? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? None opposed, motion carries. Back to number 1, that the 2020 board and standing committee calendar be approved with the referral to staff. Moved by Director Yanni Donardo, seconded by Director Sebring. Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? None opposed, motion carries. Ms. Legault.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Item SR2, staff report from Public Safety regarding a tower site license agreement, Mount Hayes 911 radio repeater site. The recommendation that a 5-year agreement with Fortis BC Energy Inc. beginning October 1st, 2019 for $52.80 per year for a tower site license to establish a 911 radio repeater site at Mount Hayes and Electoral Area H be approved.
Do I have a mover? Director Haim, seconded by Director Kuhn. Any discussion on those? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? None opposed, motion carries. Ms. Legault.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Item SR3 is a staff report from the Finance Division of 5-year financial plan 20 to 2024, bylaw 4299 for information.
Sorry, thank you. Is there any discussion, questions from the board? No. What am I missing, Director Morrison? That's for information, so we'll move on. Ms. Legault.
Item SR4, staff report from Finance on the 2020 revenue anticipation borrowing bylaw number 4300 for information.
Again, this is for information. These bylaws, I believe, are just around the corner. Is there any further discussion or questions of staff? Seeing none, we will continue on. SR5.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Staff report from Development Services on the official community plan amendment for Couverton Real Estate Timber West Forest Limited. And recommendation, 1, that adoption of bylaw 4256, Electoral Area F, Cowichan Lake South, Scotts Falls Official Community Plan Amendment Bylaw, Covered in Real Estate / Timber West Forest Limited be considered. 2, that the interim license for sewer utility installation for the Missachi Lake Sewer System Service be approved.
Moved by Director Morrison, seconded by Director Acton. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? None opposed, motion carries. Ms. Legault.
Item PH1 is the public hearing minutes and exhibits for CVRD bylaw 4281, Electoral Area E, zoning amendment bylaw C5 Zone 4450, Trans-Canada Highway 2019, and the recommendation is that the public hearing minutes and exhibits be received.
Moved by Director Nicholson, seconded by Director Acton. Discussion on those? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? None opposed, motion carries. Moving on to bylaws, Ms. Legault.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. But item B1, that CVRD bylaw number 4298, Bald Mountain Water System Service Amendment Bylaw, Boundary Extension 2019, for adoption.
Moved by Director Kuhn, seconded by Director Morrison. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? None opposed, motion carries. Ms. Legault.
Item B2, CVRD bylaw number 4299, 5-year financial plan 2020 to 2024, bylaw 2019, be granted first, second, and third reading.
Thank you. Moved by Director McGonigal, seconded by Director Smith. Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? None opposed, motion carries. Ms. Legault.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. CVRD bylaw number 4299, 5-year financial plan 2020 to 2024, for adoption.
Moved by Director McGonigal, seconded by Director Staples. Seeing no discussion, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on, Ms. Legault.
Item B3, CVRD bylaw number 4300, CVRD revenue anticipation borrowing bylaw 2019, for first, second, and third reading.
Thank you. Moved by Director Morrison, seconded by Director Sebring. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? None opposed, motion carries.
CVRD bylaw 4300, CVRD revenue anticipation borrowing bylaw 2019, for adoption.
For adoption, moved by Director Yanni DiNardo, seconded by Director Staples. All those in favor? Opposed? None opposed, motion carries. Moving on to the next bylaws. Ms. Legault.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. These are electoral area director voting. BEA1, CVRD bylaw 4256, Electoral Area F, Cowichan Lake South, Scotts Falls Official Community Plan Amendment Bylaw, Covered in Real Estate Timber West Forest 2 Limited 2019, for adoption.
Moved by Director Morrison, seconded by Director Kuhn. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? None opposed, motion carries. Ms. Legault.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. BEA2, CVRD bylaw number 4281, Electoral Area E, Cowichan Station, Satlam Glenora Zoning Amendment Bylaw, C5 Zone 4450, Trans-Canada Highway 2019, for third reading.
Thank you. Director Nicholson.
Based on the public hearing, the community is not supportive of the use that's being requested in the rezoning. So I would like to refer this back to staff to discuss with the applicant whether they are open to considering other uses than automotive at this site.
Thank you. Any comment from staff? That's been moved as a referral back to staff by Director Nicholson. Do I have a seconder? Director Salmon, any discussion on the referral? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. Thank you. Ms. Legault. I think we're on BEA3.
That is the same bylaw, so.
Oh, so it's
it will
been
be referred
referred.
back to staff.
So I believe we're at question period.
Question period.
Take it easy on me. Oh, sorry. I was taking advice from our corporate officer.
My apologies. That was, my apologies. So that was CVRD bylaw number 4289, Electoral Area F, Cowichan Lake South, Scotts Falls Zoning Amendment Bylaw, PID 009845526, Couch and Lake Road 2019 for first and second reading.
Thank you. Moved by Director Morrison, seconded by Director Kuhn. Any discussion? Seeing none. Director Electoral Area Directors only. All those in favor? Opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. Now we come to question period. I'm sure Mr. Evans wants to ask me how I blew that one so bad. I don't see anyone stepping to the mic. There's a small clerical error that I made earlier in our meeting. We have to resolve into closed session. If I can get a motion to go into closed. Moved by Director Sebring, seconded by Director Smith. All those in favor? Opposed? None opposed? Motion carries. We are closed after we clear the gallery, especially of Mr. Davis.